Come break bread with the Breaking Bread Village. Pass the mic, I've got something to say. Just show up, in this space we're authentic. There's no need to wait. Let's all pass the plate at the Breaking Bread Village.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Breaking Bread Village. I'm really excited to have this conversation today. Excuse me if I seem a little off today. I do have a bit of a migraine. Just this, this is the season for migraines and allergies and blah, blah, blah. So, but I'm still here and really excited to talk to our guest here today. Let me go ahead and bring him on, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the conversation. Hey, Ryan, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, Aaron, I'm doing really well. How are you tonight?
I am doing good. Besides the migraine, I'm doing really well. Besides
You'll
that,
feel better soon. Good night's sleep, maybe, and you'll be 100% in the morning.
I'm hoping so. I definitely am hoping so. Well, again, I welcome you here today to talk about this. I know that you may mention that you were running for governor. So I said, oh, wow, I'm really curious about that. I want to talk to you about that. I do want to share a quick video. It's not of you, but I do want to share a quick video just for our viewers. If you would bear with me real quick, Ryan, and then we can go ahead and get started.
Sounds great.
Yeah, just want to share this real quick for people that may not know what we stand for here. Every once in a while, I like to talk about it and remind people. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. Hey, so this is Patrice from the Breaking Bread Village. I just wanted to make a quick video just to address some things. I've written it down in certain things and shared it, but I've never really think that I've talked about it this way. So I want to do that now. The Breaking Bread Village was created solely to create space for all voices. I know what it feels like to be silenced. I know what it feels like to have assumptions made about me before people even hear from me or talk to me. So I always try to provide that courtesy to people to have a conversation. I also believe that it builds bridges. It fills gaps. We have different conversations. We have so much hate, right? We have so much hate sometimes. We have so many prejudices. We have so much partisanship. We have so many biases, okay? And when you have all this stuff, all this hate, all these biases, all this confusion, and just blah, 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 when we have all this going on, if we never have anybody that can sit down right in the midst of all of it, calm, cool, and collected, sit down right in the midst of it and be able to have those conversations to possibly bridge a gap, to possibly understand that person better, to possibly grow, to possibly have more empathy, or to possibly just give that person some peace in that moment, in that day, understanding that they have been heard. I don't have to agree. I don't have to advocate. I don't have to even like it all the time. But what I will do, and what I will always do, because that's who I've always been, is be able to sit down and have those conversations. When you look back at Time Magazine, all the influential people that they put up, it's not always people that people loved. And then there are some people that people love, right? It's both sides of this thing. They were always people that caused conversations. They were always people that caused some type of influence. That's why they made it there. My point in saying that is that people in the world are not always going to be how we want them to be. They're not always going to agree or line up with our way of thinking. That's just life. And if we're never able to navigate through that, we all lose. If we never have somebody that can sit down, have that conversation from both sides of it to see different perspectives, different opinions, different ways of life, different thought processes, different mindsets. If we never have somebody that can do that, we all lose. We all lose. And until we see that, until we grasp that sometimes we have to walk outside of our comfort zone. Sometimes we have to open up that curtain and look outside to see things that are different than what we see around us every day. Until we realize that sometimes we have to travel half across the world just to see a different way of life so we can better understand why that group of people act and live the way they do. Until we recognize that, we all lose. We can't win at this thing like that, being closed off, closed-minded. People attack me all the time because I have different people that they don't agree with, and they assume I do. Don't make that assumption. Understand what this is all about. It's about allowing people to have space, to hold space, and to have a voice, period. So, at the end of the day, I'm going to stay true to myself and true to my mission. Despite what people think, despite what people say, despite the attacks, I'm good because I am being true to myself. And I challenge you to do the same. Hey Ryan, thank you for kind of bearing with me with that. I wanted to share that video. So sorry about that. Oh, why is that still doing that? Give me 1 second. Small business committee. There we go. All right. Never said I was a tech person. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much for bearing with me there. I just want to share that. And, let's just get right to it. This week when people heard that you were coming on here, people in your area, I think it's mostly kind of in your area or people that are in certain groups don't necessarily care for you that much. And so they took what they felt for you and took it out on me, which is okay. This is not the first time. But with that said, let's go ahead and just address the elephant in the room in regards to some things that people have issue with in regards to, you running for governor because of your ties with different protests that you put together and some things that they feel happened on January 6th. So I want you to go ahead and address that. And then we can go on and talk about also, some things in regards to you running for governor.
You bet. Can I make comment on that video real quick before we?
Oh, sure.
So as I was listening to that video, I have so much respect for you. The outlook that you have, because this is the second time I've been on your show, right? You had me on several months ago. We've had a few different phone calls where we've, shared ideas and thoughts and everything since then. I just love your approach to life. I love your attitude. And that video is very refreshing to see. And so you didn't have that on the first time that I was on your show. And so to see that here now, I love the video. Well done.
Thank you. Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, I actually did it after getting kind of bombarded with attacks about you being on. So I figured, maybe some people don't really understand what we do here and what we'll always do, despite people's personal opinions. So with that said, if you want to go ahead and address, we have a question here about that. So if you want to address that monkey in the room or elephant in the room, whatever the saying is, if you want to address that, that would be great.
For sure. So January 6th, yes, I was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, along with a million other people that were there in support of the United States of America. They were in support of, at the time, a sitting president. And they were there with real, true grievances. Because regardless of what we think happened in November, if somebody says there was fraud, if somebody said it was stolen, whatever it is, there's enough people, tens of millions of them across this country, that have some sort of grievance with the way that it happened. And so that's one thing that we need to come to terms with, that there is true grievances. So yeah, January 6th, I was there. with many other people that were exercising their First Amendment. This whole idea that was an insurrection. Look, 99.9% of the people that were there, like I said, were in support of America and support of Trump, the president at the time, myself included, right? And it absolutely was not an insurrection. So the couple of people that, went inside and was doing, ridiculous things, breaking stuff. Once I heard that that's what's happening, because I never went inside the building. I never fought with police officers. Once I heard that was happening, somebody got shot, I left, because that's not what I went there for. So anyways, that's the story with the 6th. With the other protests, 2020 was an interesting year for all of us.
Yes, that's for sure.
It sure was. So there were several protests that, at the Lansing Capitol, some spots in Grand Rapids. Some people disagreed with a lot of the stuff. Some people liked it. We're probably going to see more rallies coming up this year too. And hopefully, just like with what you're talking about in your video, we can find ways to have certain conversations that are going to unite people across our state. One thing, as a candidate of governor in Michigan here, I've been asking the question, and I asked you this question on the phone when we spoke several weeks ago. What does a better Michigan look like to you? In getting voices at the table, I've received so much feedback on my website. As a matter of fact, just tonight I was making more calls to people that provide the feedback and expanding upon that. And I'm hearing a diverse set of opinions all across the state of things that they see. And some of the opinions I don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
Like what you're saying. But you know what? As a candidate for governor, I need to be able to listen to where people are at, where they're coming from, why they're saying it. And I think that's a really important thing too, is someone being able to express their opinion and then tell you why. Because just like in your video, like it or not, we're all in this together. We're all citizens of the United States. We're citizens of Michigan. And we have the opportunity to have a conversation, understand where each other are coming from, and maybe we can find common ground and even learn some things that maybe we felt one way, but we're like, man, I never looked at it in this light. And so you can, advance your personality or whatever it is to, a new understanding. And I have a lot of learning and growing to do myself.
Yeah. And that's always been my question too, because I know that you are a strong Republican. I know that you are, strong in that stance. How do you plan on bridging that gap? How do you plan on, being able to hear people that, just like case in point, the people that feel like you are not the right person to be in that position. How do you plan on connecting that divide?
Mm-hmm. First and foremost, I'm an American before I'm affiliated with any particular political party. With the Republican Party in general, there's a lot of things that in 2020 that happened I don't agree with on both sides of the aisle, Republican included. So as I go into this, I want to look more at my approach as an American. What does it look like to be an American? What does it look like for our Constitution to be upheld for everyone? Right now, the current administration is not upholding the Constitution, federal or state. The Supreme Court even ruled that the current administration was acting outside of the scope of the authority of the Constitution. And yet here we are still moving forward, disregarding our 3-branch system of government. It's making things very difficult for many, many people across the state, and businesses included. I speak with small business owners all the time that are struggling, and they continue to have hardships that are unnecessarily burdened on them.
Yeah. And that's the question. No, we had a question here. Do you plan on attending the protest in Lansing on March 27th? Hosted by Pardon me?
I'm not sure what's happening there.
Oh, okay. That's the question here, is that where you plan on? It's supposed to be hosted by numerous militia. But so with that said, in regards to, like you talked about small business and helping it, the current administration, how do you feel like you can do something different? Because we are and were in a pandemic, right? We definitely had to take some kind of precautions. So what do you think should have been done differently? Can you tell me? Because of course you don't agree with it, which I know many people don't. I know many people are upset. I know personally many small business owners that were impacted by the shutdowns. Of course, me, myself, I will share this, I agreed with taking those precautions, at first. I mean, because I think this was new to all of us. Nobody knew. I mean, we haven't lived through a pandemic before, especially based on how they were presenting it, correct? That, people were basically, dying left and right. We have to keep some kind of distance. So, and I know that many people felt like it went on too long once people started to having to shut down their businesses. So how do you feel like you would have handled it different, or, you see how she should have handled it different?
Sure. Yeah. It was 15 days to flatten the curve, right?
That is what they said originally. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I just forgot to mention that it was going to be like 30 times in a row, right? Different, how it should have been handled different. I mean, I think you mentioned something that is very accurate, and it's just a human nature thing. When something like that occurs, right? A virus, something that is told that, hey, look, take major precautions. Logical human beings are going to step back and do some sort of a risk assessment and say, what type of threat is there really happening here, right? And myself included, I did that too. Once, it was a little over a year ago, right, when we first started hearing about it. There was some times, I think, even in January, where you heard about some stuff happening in China, but it wasn't really in the United States until the end of January. So about a year ago, we were starting to say, hey, what's really happening? Individual risk assessment, right? I think is something that people are smart enough to figure out things for themselves, right? And that's one way that I would have handled things differently is individual risk assessment, empowering people with information, so that they know exactly what the risks are. We were told over and over again that the decisions were being based on science and data, but maybe we weren't intelligent enough to have the science and data ourselves to be able to analyze it and make our own risk assessment. We were told we weren't allowed to buy flowers in paint. We couldn't go down the paint aisle. We were told that people that cut grass shouldn't be using gas pumps because they are spreading the disease. So lots and lots of things that were very belittling in my eyes, right? Empower people with the information of what's going on so that they have great resources to make individual risk assessment. If you are high risk, then you should take those precautions based on however you perceive that you are going to be best protected. If you care for elderly folks that might be more susceptible, you should maybe take some sort of precaution that you have in the care for them or who you're around. People are smart, right? People are intelligent. And so empowering them with the right information and not telling them what to do, leaving them blind in the dark, that's really what America should be about. We're a free country, and we need to be operating that way in all instances, I believe. I don't believe that the government has the authority to shut down businesses like that.
So you would not have done that if you were, or, in that position, you would not have done that, is what you're saying. I'm sorry, the comments are going crazy over here, so I'm trying to keep up and listen to you at the same time. But so you don't agree that that was the right thing to do because you believe that, and I've heard this argument before from people where they believe that each person should be able to decide for themselves in regards to what they do for themselves. Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure I'm hearing you right.
Individual risk assessment. Absolutely.
Okay. We have a question here from Megan. Basically, she's saying, do you support masking, vaccinating, and protecting us, all of us, even the I always get that word tongue-tied, but yes, you see it there. Sorry, my brain is not working well today that well with this migraine. But do you support wearing masks and vaccinating?
So immunosuppressed.
Yes.
So I guess just to clarify, to make sure I understand that correctly, and maybe Megan, if you can write something as far as a comment, just to clarify that to make sure that I'm understanding correctly.
She says she's high risk, but if the community doesn't support protection, she can't leave her house. So she's saying that if people don't do it all together in regards to protecting people like herself, then she can't leave her house.
Sure. My stance on vaccines is medical freedom. So I'm not anti-vaccine at all. But I don't believe that people should be forced to take them because, again, an individual risk assessment, I've heard of many cases where vaccines have caused injury to people in a variety of ways. And so I do not believe that somebody should be forced to be mandated vaccines, but it's not something that I'm against. If somebody wants to be vaccinated, I absolutely think that they should have that option for sure. Again, coming back to education, I feel like there's maybe a lot of things in the vaccine world that the science is not there to really help us understand what the implications are. And with the COVID vaccine, I asked that too. It came out so quickly. So what really, when we're talking like a 9-month turnaround, like what kind of testing and safety, and there's certain things that just seems very cloudy to me. So that would be my answer to that question is medical freedom. I'm not anti-vaccine.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what? And I know people don't like when I say this, but I believe that people should be able to make a educated choice for their body, for sure. And so that part I do agree with. It's such a hard balance with this because we have had a lot of people that have died from it, and different things as well. But a lot of people have died from the coronavirus. So I get, even with my mother, I'm very cautious of what I do because I want to be able to be around her because she also can be compromised. So I try to be very mindful of that. So it's really a hard balance with that. We do have a question here, and Ryan, I really want you to get to some of your other policies that you want to change or enact. But we do have a question here. Why do you compare Black Lives Matter to the KKK? And the reason why I want some of these questions to be addressed is because I believe that anybody that, and I shared this with you prior, anybody that's running for public office will be asked certain questions, right? Especially if there are groups of people that feel like they aren't being heard or seen. So, if you want to address that the best way you can.
Yeah, most definitely. I have a very clear answer there. So with the problem that I have with the BLM movement, right, is just if you separate the 3 words from any of the actions from the organization, I am in complete agreement, right? I believe that all Black lives matter, 100%. Mm-hmm. The organization, on the other hand, I feel like there's so many things that are inconsistent with what that actual movement is all about. It doesn't seem like that to the movement in general, what I've seen over the course of the year, like during some of the BLM protests that turned riot, and they were burning down businesses that were owned by Black people. Like, why are you doing that? No, don't destroy the businesses of the people you're trying to stand up for. When that Black police officer, that retired police chief that was killed, and there was no mention of him. I'm like, guys, he's a hero. Like, we need to celebrate this guy. Like, his life mattered. Absolutely, it did. We need to raise him up as the hero that he was, trying to protect his community. When the little girl in Chicago was shot, and the BLM movement in general didn't stand up for her or mention her name, like, that made me so sad. Like, her life matters. Her life was so young, and nobody seemed to care.
Yeah,
I was very sad about that. And then I've asked the question too, of the billions of dollars that this organization has raised, why have we not put money into maybe some communities that need help? Maybe they need better access to educational materials. Maybe they need iPads. Maybe they need better schooling books. Maybe they need updates to school. They've raised billions of dollars. And funny enough, it's went to majority of white Democratic politicians' pockets. And so I ask those questions like, why don't we take those resources and actually make the lives better for Black people that are struggling?
Well, and I will say this, and I've said it 1,000 times before on different platforms that I definitely agree. Of course, Black Lives Matter. I definitely agree with the grassroots movements and the foot soldiers that are on the ground doing stuff within communities. I have taken issue with the organization. I do believe that a lot of the money is not filtered back into different communities that say they fight for. These are not, and I'm not speaking of the individual groups that are in these communities. I'm talking about the big, organization. But I do still want to know what is the comparison between Black Lives Matter and the KKK? Because my understanding of the KKK is totally different than what I see Black Lives Matter doing in regards to killing people senselessly, just based on the color of their skin. Now, if you see some type of correlation with that, please, explain that to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was an old Facebook post or something that I shared from somebody else. I'm not really sure. But I would like to say this because I agree with you too. The people that are part of the BLM movement that want real change for the Black community, and like you said, they're I think you call them foot soldiers. I think you said
the people that are like on the ground. That are actually doing work in the communities. Yeah,
right. I stand with them. And I would actually invite them to reach out. You have my phone number. If you know any of them, you can feel free to give them my phone number. I would like to talk with them and ask the question, right? What will make their communities better? And I want to shut up and listen, because maybe I can serve in some capacity to help them to get that solution. And I absolutely would. Somebody record this. When I get elected Michigan's 50th governor, you play it back. And you said, Ryan, this is what you said you do. Now do it, because I will, because it matters. And we need to ask the question, instead of me saying like, oh, this is what will make your community better, or these things, or if you elect me, I'll make everything so amazing. Tell me how we can make it better. I will listen, and maybe we can take action steps to make those communities better and make all communities better in the process. And so there's a little action plan for the future, maybe.
Sure. Yes. No, I do want you to, like I said, it's tons of questions here, and I do want to get to some of them, but I do want you to also tell us some of the things that you plan on doing, that's different. What do you feel like you're going to bring to the table in regards to being governor of Michigan? And then like I said, I do want to throw some of these questions in because I tried to address them. We have quite a few tonight.
Sure. No, that's exciting. I'm glad that the show is bringing a lot of people and bringing a lot of questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I should be answering any questions. And I'm open-minded to understanding where people are coming from. And so far, all the questions have been respectful, and I appreciate that. But as far as, things moving forward as a candidate for governor, right, my plans are going to be, in the next few months, kind of rolled out a little bit more in depth so that people can understand kind of what things would look like with me as governor. A few things I can say is that we will respect our Constitution in this state. We will respect our 3-branch system of government in this state, right? We'll work with the legislature. And I would like to work with all the legislature. Like, what is the things that are going to make Michigan better, by asking the question, what does a better Michigan look like, right? Some of the things that we'll be doing, trying to create the best environment that we can. In my eyes, government doesn't create jobs. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
We're going to bring jobs, and we're going to bring jobs in. What are you going to do? Bring administrative jobs in at the Capitol building, or at, DHHS or something like that, or, law enforcement? Like, government's job, in my eyes, is to create an environment in the state so that the private sector is incentivized to come in and create jobs. They're the ones that create jobs. Now, people will say, oh, you want to bring in big businesses and you want to give them a bunch of tax cuts. There is value in that, right? To a certain extent.
Yeah, explain that.
If people are incentivized to come in and be able to invest in the area, knowing that they're not going to be taxed ridiculously high, they're going to be incentivized to put their facilities there. They're going to be incentivized to bring on more workers, expand in a friendly area, which can make things more prosperous for everybody. Now, here's the twist. What would it look like if in Michigan we extended those same types of tax opportunities, right, whether they're benefits or credits or something, to small business owners? What if we incentivized people that got jobs at some of the businesses that we can bring in and give employees some sort of tax benefits as well, right? I would like to see some sort of a plan roll out where we can give people across all spectrums, right? There's like Main Street, and then there's Wall Street. I'm more of a Main Street guy. I'm a regular guy. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a small business owner, right? I relate to people on Main Street much more than I do Wall Street. So how do we create an environment in Michigan that will allow Main Street to thrive and extend whatever opportunities that we need to create that environment in the state for businesses, big and small alike, to be prosperous?
Is that possible? Because is that possible? Is it possible to do that?
Which party specifically?
That whole like Main Street idea where, the big business gets a little bit, is that possible?
I think if we want it to be possible, it absolutely can be possible.
Okay.
Right now, we see with the current administration so much oppression on small business, right? Big businesses is still open and thriving, but the small mom and pops, the small restaurants, right? They're being wiped out in a lot of instances, right? I'm talking with different restaurant associations in different counties, and they're struggling. And it's these small businesses that are struggling. And really, when I'm elected governor of Michigan, like, those restrictions will lift. I don't know if they're going to lift before the 2022 election or not, but we need to get those restrictions off of these businesses and let them start earning a living again. And that needs to happen before, they're totally wiped out.
Yeah. I do agree that, like I said, again, that balance, because, and I do feel for people like Megan who say, I want to be able to leave my house. I don't want to have to worry about, being sick. And then I also feel for, like I said, people that I know personally who have had to shut down their businesses based on, the economy and not having people come in. So it's this really tough balance. We have a question here to say, did you support somebody going into a private business saying that they should, that if they say you must wear a mask in a business, why would you try to hinder that business? Basically going in and going against the mask order. Did you support that, or do you support that?
To clarify, to make sure I understand,
Sure.
Do I support the business's decision, or do I support mask mandates in general?
Well, I guess this question is one of your allies going into a private business and disrupting that business over the mask order. Because, of course, a lot of people were upset about people being forced to wear masks. And I thought you would support private business. And if they say you must wear a mask to enter their business, why would you try to hinder that business, is the question.
That's a great question. My first question would be, and I don't think we really have an answer to this question, but we'll use it as a talking point. Is that business requiring people to wear masks because they have chosen that that's the best plan of action for their business, or are they doing that because they're fearful that the government will come in and shut them down?
Okay.
If they're doing it because the government is in fear of them shutting them down, which most businesses, that would be their reason why. Okay. Then I would like to empower that business to know that government should not have, does not have the authority to come in and mandate how businesses are going to tell people that they're going to, require masks or not. Okay. If we start doing that, then, we can bleed over into the freedom of speech, because the topic comes up that, the government can't tell a private business that they can or cannot allow freedom of speech, right? If somebody wants to censor free speech. So now we're playing with this game of, well, government can tell businesses this, but they can't tell businesses this. We're going to use the excuse that they're a private business for this, but on the flip side, we're going to tell them what to do over here. You're juggling too many different things there, as far as government overreach, whether it fits your narrative or not.
Okay. We can answer a couple more questions. Then, like I said, I still want you to talk some more about. Have you looked into the testing that's been done? I think that's I'm assuming that's in regards to the vaccination and COVID. Let's see. What is this? So people can decide what they can do with their body, except for when it is in the matter of woman's choice, medical freedom. So do you have a stance on that? Did you have a stance on a woman not being able to have that choice over their body?
I'm pro-life.
Okay. Okay.
And I believe that when the heartbeat starts, a new body is formed.
Now I had a show about this, and I talk about this to people all the time because I so I stand on a different side of that. Of course, I mean, and I think I've made this clear before. In regards to that, and that's a whole nother conversation. In regards to when life starts and when it ends. I do believe, and it may be because I worked with women who've been traumatized by different things, that I do believe that people should always be able to determine what happens to their body. And then I always ask the question, being pro-life, but like, what about after that life is born? That's always been my thing with, especially when it comes to kind of like, and I hate doing this balance, but like the Republican versus Democrat argument of that in regards to pro-life, because and everybody knows that this is my stance on it in regards to, once that baby is born, when I worked with children in different institutions and different things like that, once the mom doesn't want the baby anymore, it seems like people aren't there anymore when it comes to pro-life. So that's my stance on it. And, we can agree to disagree on that. I'm not pro-abortion. I don't think everybody should just, go killing babies whenever because, but I do believe that people should be able to choose, what they do with their body. So we can agree to disagree on that part of it. Ryan, and we'll get to some more of these questions, but tell us some more, because I feel like we're kind of all over the place. I want you to also tell some more things about what you plan on doing, what you see different, because the reason why I asked this and the reason why I really wanted to talk to you about this is because people gave, of course, the governor a really hard, she had a tough year last year, and that was her first time going through a pandemic as well, right? We can agree with that. And it was unprecedented and it was different, and everybody was trying to figure out what was the best thing to do with their personal lives in regards to their families, their businesses, and in government. So she got a lot of flack. So I just want to know, what do you feel you will bring? Because as we did talk about when you asked me, what do I feel we need to see, in Michigan in particular, I did say more jobs, and I did talk about small business, and I think I talked about more seats at the table representation. So that is my question as well in regards to, people who have been said to be, not necessarily as diverse in their thinking. What can you bring? How will you bring more seats to the table? How will you bring more diversity? That's really an important thing to me. So how would you plan on doing that? And, what else would you bring that you feel like you would do different than Governor Whitmer did?
Mm-hmm. That 2020 year pandemic, that was the first time in any of our lives that we've experienced something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there absolutely was, for the current governor, a time where, she had to make some decisions, right? I think once a lot of us started to see those decisions start to disintegrate, her constitutional reach, right? When she no longer decided that the legislature was to have a seat at the table either.
Okay.
Right? She took all diversity of other opinions away. And she said, no, I'm making the decisions. I don't care what you say, I'm making all the decisions. And now I would like to know why she decided to put COVID-19 positive patients into nursing homes when we had all of these pop-up hospitals that were built all over the place that sat there empty. Right. But we'll talk about that at a different time. Right. But she made all the decisions, 100% her, not listening to the Supreme Court. I'm not listening to the legislature, doing it all myself. And still to this day, here we are, Aaron, a year later. And she's still doing the same thing. She's doing it through the Department of Health and Human Services. But nonetheless, she's calling all the shots and does not want any other voices at the table.
Okay. What would you have done different? Because I really don't. I don't know what she could have done different. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to know, what would you have done different in regards to in that moment? And like you said, now I'm not talking about now, because now is different than then. But at that moment, what would you have done different? How would you have handled that?
Right.
Because in my mind, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate. In my mind, she was trying to keep people isolated, right? And and not be able to get other people sick. And that's how I saw that she was trying to do that. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs because I don't follow things in that depth when it comes to politics and things of that nature. But I did follow it last year because it was so much going on, and it was so much chatter around it. But what would you have done different? And I really mean that sincerely. What would you have done different in that regard?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and again, here's one of these things where whatever I say, it's already passed, right? So,
right.
I didn't live it. I didn't have to make the decisions. And we kind of alluded to it just a few minutes ago when we talked a little bit about how I would handle things differently, right? I think that more seats at the table would have been good, right?
Yeah.
If I had been governor in 2019, I would have called all of the legislators together, Democrats and Republicans, and I would have said, check that at the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Check it at the door. We're walking in here as the leaders of Michigan, and we need to take a look at this virus, and we need to take a look at our state. I want everybody's opinion, and let's bring it all on the table and get input from everybody.
Okay.
And we would have been able to take a different type of risk assessment for the state, right? And she didn't even ask anybody's opinion, right? She didn't bring up the legislators. As a matter of fact, she pushed the legislators away. So I think that's one thing that I would have done differently is I would have brought them all to the table, brought more than one doctor to the table, and strived for real science and data. And then released that science and data to the public. To this day, we still have not seen the science and data that she's using, and she has repeatedly stonewalled FOIA requests asking for it. And she stonewalled the United States Congress asking for all this data as well. So we really don't even know still to this day what information was being used based off, all the decisions that were made. I would have released that to the public. I would have been like, here, guys, here's the stuff, right? I look at when I'm elected Michigan's 50th governor, I am a servant of the people, represented by the people for the people. I'm a regular guy, and I want us to have a great state that we can operate freely. My campaign slogan, if you will, is freedom, hope, love, and prosperity, right? I want to see freedom. I want to see hope. I don't want to see the fear that we see. I want a governor that's going to be able to speak hope that we have better days and be able to provide an environment, including at the education level. We can talk about that if you want to, where people all across the state have the opportunity to thrive. And here's how we can figure that out. We can say, what do these schools need? I have a great book. I was speaking with a lady from Detroit. She had submitted some stuff on my website. I called her. We talked for about an hour, retired school teacher. She wrote a book on how Detroit schools could be better. I learned a lot, right? I said, I need your help more. So love, you mentioned too, there's so much hate going around, right? Yeah. You look like some love and at least listen. And then prosperity. We need to have a prosperous state and an opportunity for people to prosper. We need to be able to create that as government, that environment for people to be able to thrive in. So those are some of the things that I would have done differently, right? I know that was the question. We kind of got off topic there just a little bit different.
Yeah.
But the reason that I'm asking for all this feedback, what are people's top 2 priorities that they think need to be addressed in Michigan, as well as what does a better Michigan look like, is because I personally, as a candidate for governor, want a very large, diverse opinion base of what people think. So that we can put all those voices together and say, hey, collectively, this is what people think make Michigan better, or it's talking points to say like, whoa, I totally don't agree with that, but why do you think that way?
Okay. It's, I definitely believe that people have to have conversation. I mean, that's pretty clear that I agree with that. We have several running threads over here in regards to questions for you. When you mentioned, reach out and talk. And several people were, are saying that they've tried to reach out. Jess has said, we've tried to reach out. Karina is saying that they've tried to reach out and talk, and you walk away. Now, I don't know if this is and I'm not making, I don't know if this is like during a protest or when this was, because I'm not in your community. I don't know. But this is what several people are saying. I can't show all of them because it's really a lot about reaching out and stuff. What do you say to that? Because there are a lot of people especially in marginalized communities that feel like people are not listening, especially when it comes to politicians. I mean, when it comes to politicians where it's like, you're not listening to our voice, or you're not hearing us, you're not seeing us. How would you plan to address that? Because let's just be real. Let's just be transparent. When you are, associated with certain things, right? People form an opinion, right? They form an opinion of you. So how do you plan on being able to cross that barrier, so to speak, because people have already kind of think that you are a part of certain alliances, and a part of different groups. How do you plan on doing that? Because there are a lot of people that will be in your area that will be helping to, kind of vote on this. How would you bridge that gap, so to speak? How do you plan on doing that? Because they're saying that they have reached out to you and they can't get, conversation.
I guess I would be curious to know where they've reached out at.
Okay.
To as of today, I have called back every person so far. I've made a ton of phone calls, right? And I've called back every person that has put information, valid information. I have got some ridiculous feedback. So if somebody's listening and you're one of the ones that just put a bunch of cuss words and some mean stuff, like, I didn't call you back. No, and I'm not going to, because if you respectfully put something on the website that is a top 2 priority in what a better Michigan looks like with a valid phone number. I've got a bunch of junk phone numbers, a bunch of junk emails. So if it's one of those people, yeah, I didn't reach back out to you. But go to my website, ryandkelley.com. If you want to, I don't know if you want to put that in the comments.
Yeah.
Right. Ryan D. Kelley, RyanDKelley.com. The spot on there, send Ryan a message, right? It does come right to me. It does. Depending on how quickly I can get to it, I have a business to run and all that other stuff. I fit it in to make phone calls. Here's my question. How many other people running for office actually ask the question, what would make some of these communities better? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe there's all sorts of them that are down there asking the question, what's going to make your community better? Or maybe there's people running for office that are making promises that things are going to be so much better, but they don't even know what the community, if it's a marginalized community or any community, what would even make that community better? And I can't say I know, because I don't live in all communities across Michigan. Right. So my answer to that, I guess, would be that I am willing to listen.
Okay.
I would like to know what would make those communities better, whatever your community is, right? What is it? What would it look like, Aaron, if we started asking that question? What does a better in the blank of the county look like? What does a better community here look like, whether it's a township or whether it's a city or a village, right? And we started getting real feedback like, hey, you know what? I never thought of it that way. But, it'd be great if, this park was cleaned up. It would be great if the school had these resources, right? If we can start having real conversations like that and put together some serious action items, right? I would love to be able to see some of those things come to fruition.
Okay. I mean, and all I can do right now in this moment is hear what you're saying. I think some of these people, I'm assuming, are people that probably interacted with you maybe over the summer or in your community. So they have a different, and I can't speak to everybody on here, but there are a few people who showed a lot of animosity towards me about having you on, and I invite them to come on and ask questions. I'm not afraid of that, to ask questions to me or to you, if you were comfortable with that, and they chose not to. So my thing is, again, the people that are commenting, I think they have valid feelings, because I wasn't there, so I can't, speak to that. But all I can take is what you're saying right now, and I mean, we would have to just move on, because I mean, what else do you do in that regard? I know some people have questions about Blue Lives Matter and what does that really mean to you? Because, and I think you kind of spoke to that, and you're saying, that on the 6th that once people started doing different things, you left, and they're saying that's not the case, but I mean, and they have video or what have you, but because that was my question too, not to you, but just in general. A lot of people that were there, of course, are people that support Blue Lives Matter, and they were, of course, attacking police officers. So that was very interesting to me. But again, we've asked you that question, and you already said your piece in that. So we'll move on from that. Do you think we should defund the police and refund our communities? Jess Miller is asking that.
I guess what does that mean specifically, refund the community?
So I can't speak for her, but I will say when I've heard people say it before, that means, to, of course, reallocate the money into the communities as opposed to giving it all to. So whatever you take away from, whatever you defund from the police, you're putting it out into the communities. That's what I'm assuming that she means, because that's what I've heard other people say.
Yeah, I guess I would have to know more.
Reallocating funds
is that defunding the police is a bad idea. We should not defund the police. If there is a lack of resources in a community because police are overfunded, like, we have 6 police officers for every street corner, right? An allocation of resources might need to be looked at in order to make things run more efficiently, right? Hey, we don't have money for, pencils at school because, we have officers, standing around everywhere. Right. But I'd have to know more. And,
okay.
What community funds are being allocated towards what. I think that's a great conversation to have. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I definitely think that's a conversation that needs to be had across the board in regards to that. We do have someone, Micah, that's asking a question to you. Where'd it go? Oh, what are your thoughts on qualified immunity? Are you willing to roll that back?
Qualified immunity. I'm not familiar with what that means.
Okay, maybe if Micah wants to expand on that a little bit, can. So, and like I said, I'm looking at most of the comments, and it seems like they are pretty much the same in regards to, Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, the 6. So, okay, here's one that's asking, in your current position, you have the possibility to make the changes you're speaking of. Why not start at home? And I'm assuming that means in your community.
In my current position, I have the possibility to make changes I'm speaking of. Maybe they're not familiar with what exactly a planning commissioner does. Can
you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So a planning commissioner, what we do is there's a zoning ordinance for each township. And that zoning ordinance basically spells out like how, development happens inside of a community. And so people come to us with new things that they want to build. For example, there was a gas station that wanted to build on a corner. So they come to us with a site plan. And so they say, hey, here's our plan. This is what we want to do. These are the trees we want to cut down. And so we decide whether or not those plans are in alignment with the ordinance as written. Need a variance, we can talk about that. Any type of zoning changes. We decide where trees need to be planted and how many trees need to be planted in a community. So some of the changes, I like to see trees get planted, right? So I think that's a positive thing. But really, there's not much beyond that. I mean, we talk about future planning, like what we'd like to see land development be used for. Like, hey, you have this field over here, would that be a good future use for residential houses, or should that stay agricultural? So really, that's really the extent of what we do there. Hey, we had a sign that wanted to be a huge sign they wanted to put right at the entrance to the community for a Metro Health. And we told them, no, you can't have that big of a sign. You got to have a smaller sign. So that's really what a planning commission does, is just look at things like that. So there's not really any opportunity for me to do any of these things that I'm speaking of tonight as far as running for governor.
Okay, and I'm probably putting words in her mouth, so I don't want to do too much. But based on what she wrote, it looks like she might mean in your community person to person, that personal community touch, maybe not necessarily in regards to your political stand, but just more so, are you being that pillar within the community? And I'm sure some people, because I think I did see someone on here that said you're doing a great job. I'm trying to find it. They're coming so quick, that you're doing a great job. But I do here right here, Micah does, if you want to read that, Ryan, he does explain what he means by the questions. And I'm glad they're asking questions because, this is what people need to do when people are running for office.
All right. So yeah, we got we got 5 minutes left till the top of the hour. So
yeah. I didn't even realize time went by pretty quick.
This is a great show. So in the United States, qualified immunity is a legal principle. So they're asking me if I think that people in elected office should be held accountable for violating people's rights. Is that maybe kind of like summing up what the question is there, I guess? I just want to.
Okay, yeah, here it is, right? Basically, if a cop walked up and punched you in the face, you would not be able to sue them. The government protects the cop.
Oh, absolutely not. I totally disagree with that. The cops should totally be held responsible. People need to be treated with respect by all government people. And as far as law enforcement goes, I think people need to be more educated on their Fourth Amendment as well. I think that's part of a school education advancement that we could have is education on constitutional rights, education on government limitations, right? Really through our Constitution, government is limited. And we have more rights as people. So I think people should be more educated on their rights, especially their Fourth Amendment rights. If a cop wants to come up and illegal search and seizure because, whether it's the color of your skin or whether they think this or think that, like you can take that stuff and walk it right down the road. People need to be given the respect that they deserve constitutionally as just human dignity as well. Right. I'm all for, for that. So to answer your question, Micah, no, that cop should not have immunity for that.
Okay, and one thing I do want to real quick, this one, do your children attend public school? How will you support public education? I think that's a big one. I know we only have a couple more minutes. People have some really good questions. I wish, I know you said that, I know people are saying that you're not, answering things in person or beforehand, but I really would love to get all these questions together and send them to you or send them somewhere, or I want them to feel like they're being heard because I know we don't have enough time to address everything. But I don't want to make them feel like we're not addressing this because I think these are really good, valid questions from people who could possibly, that are voting people. So do your children attend public school and how will you support public education?
We homeschool our children. That was a decision my wife and I made a long time ago. And how would I support public school systems? There's probably a lot that I need to learn as far as how public school operates inside of government budgeting. I believe that public schools need to have funding allocation that is probably much different than it is right now. I do believe that there's probably certain districts that are getting funding that is out of balance with other areas. So I would like to know what our budgets look like so that we can fund public schools properly, right? I believe public schools need to have education advancement as well. We live in a different era, I guess, right? I mean, we've technologically advanced so far. That's just a couple of things there, and I probably could go into it more, but we are going to have to end this here. I would like to encourage people, if they want to go to my website and submit real feedback, right? If you put a bunch of mean stuff, I will not call you back. But if you want to have a civil, respectable conversation, I am totally for that.
Is there any, Ryan, let me just ask you this real quick, because is there any way and I'm just throwing this out here, I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry, but is there any way if I put together these questions where we could revisit this, where we could, you could address it? Is that something that we possibly can do? And, maybe not have extra comments on that day, but just address the ones that are here, because I think that these are valid questions that people should be able to ask, and also encourage them to, Ryan, what was your website again? I'm sorry. Yep. I forgot to put it up.
That's all right. Ryan, RYAN, D, KLLEY.com.
Okay, and I do want to put that up there too because I do want to give people the opportunity. If you're saying, go there and, ask questions, I want people to have it. I'm sure most people probably already have it. But yeah, to give that opportunity to be able to, ask those questions. But, and again, it's totally up to you. I know I'm putting you on the spot and I'm sorry.
The short answer is yes. The short answer is yes. Put the questions together. And maybe we do another video like this, like you said, where we just answer the questions versus all these questions coming in. I mean, I think we did very good. What was our preparation for this, Aaron? We talked to each other a little bit this morning. We're like, all right.
We're all just winging it, because I want you to be able to talk, and I want the people that have real concerns because I think we all want our communities to be better. And I don't want to deal with racists either. So if I feel like, people feel like, somebody is racist, or if they feel like a person is, or a group is kind of advocating for certain things, everybody should have that right to ask about that, especially if, a person is running for office. But I also want you to be able to clearly defend yourself on both sides of this. Everybody should be able to speak. So if possible, like I said, I will definitely take the time to collect all these questions, because the ones that we have not been able to get to, and be able to address it in a respectful way for sure.
Very good.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much. I was looking at time about 30 minutes ago, and then it kind of went faster. Nice. So everybody that's watching, I promise I will get all the questions together, and we will revisit this and allow Ryan to address your questions, and then Ryan can ask some more questions and also tell some more about what he plans on doing as well. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. Again, thank you for coming on. And here is his website. Again, you said they can go there and ask some questions, and you will address them, and even call back if that's what they choose to do. So again, thank you so much. And I thank everybody who tuned in and asked questions. Thank you so much for voicing, your concerns as well. So, all right. Thank you, Ryan. You have a great evening. And we'll get together, and we can figure out a time that works for both of us to redo this. Perfect. All right. Take care.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. All right. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like I said, I will definitely get all the questions. There were quite a few this evening, but I will get them together. And as we stated, we will revisit this, and if you choose to tune in to hear his answers, and we can do that. That's the best we can do, is ask questions and get answers. So, and then he can also speak for himself as well. So thank you so much again for you all for tuning in, and you guys have a great night. Thanks.